Mario, we understand how difficult to understand this must be for you, but you must realize that while you're the same, you are the version of Tsitak and of a dream priest we are all envious of. You have human traits and emotions. You can feel love, and you won't make a decision if it hurts someone close to you. Do you remember your first crush?
Yeah. I realized they would be happier together because I learned their likes and their dislikes. So I helped them find each other. Actually made me closer friends to both of them.
But you cried at first and were depressed. You really were in love.
Yeah, I was. I just figured I'd be alone the rest of my life.
A human barrage of emotions. The reality is that you were never alone. Your foster parents, your friends, your colleagues, your contacts, all of them were in your circle. They were with you even when you were mocked and ridiculed by outsiders. But the love you had made you do a selfless act, because
the thought of that sweet soul being happy was the best gift I could ever give.
But again, logically it makes no sense. You allowed your rival to win. You gave up on the one person that made you the happiest.
Why are you bringing this up? I thought you were going to help me.
Mario, it's important. When we banished Tsitak, it was because of the dark heart, the complete lack of empathy toward the universe. But we as dream priests are really no better. We make decisions for the good of all, never for the one. We sacrifice so many species and civilizations. We knew Earth would one day have its own life, and we never even shielded it from a dimensional gate. We never protected it from all the other civilizations that came and corrupted it. We didn't protect it from Tsitak.
But if I'm Tsitak, like you said, a split personality or whatever you want me to believe, why care about me?
When we activated the dream machine, the medallion was already attached to Tsitak and was corrupted. But if we were all locked into Tsitak's mind, it would have neutralized some of it. The medallion went into action, using the residual energy left over when we closed the control gate and sent Azath into a slumber. Like a magnet, it tore away any hints of light from Tsitak. In the chaos, you were born as a human, as a separate being. While you are a part of Tsitak, it is a part that was hidden away, one that was so deep down even the elders didn't sense it. The medallion did something none of us thought possible. It made a better dream priest.
What do you mean? You've seen what I've done. I've sacrificed the entire world so I can be in peace.
It's not too late to redeem yourself, to save everything. You're a dream priest with human traits, the same way you committed a selfless act with your crush, and your parents, and your friends. You can make a selfless act here again, save those lost souls on the moons, stop Azath, and help the Order of Light rid the many-dimensional realms of Tsitak.
How can I accomplish this? I don't even understand any of it.
Because just like how you won your fantasy football championships, you have a strong team behind you. Don't you understand? We had no idea what this weird human game was, but we were locked in your mind, and you started playing it. And then we learned of Tsitak's plans.
What's going on?
You're beginning to believe, and the dream realm is weakening. Soon you will wake up on Callisto, inside our temple as a prisoner of the dark Tsitak and the shadows.
I'm starting to see the dawn of time. The elders. The master realm. The temple of the dream priests. The medallion. The splitting. The rebirth. My whole existence and things that were lost in my memories. My parents. My parents. I can see my parents.
Yes, Mario. You will have our combined force in your mind at all times for this battle. And you now know the truth about your real parents and why you're so important to the future. Now, awaken!
Welcome to the quest for the Green Bull, the rise of Ralu Azath. Oh my, that was an insane final week. So many twists and turns. Even my mind was corrupted in the final results. Because as it turns out, the fantasy tiebreaker, when 5 teams are all 7-7, it's a little different to the computer's eye than what I originally thought. This was the first time our league had this scenario where everyone played each other, and as it turns out, when one team makes it in, they still count in the tiebreakers, so that threw everything for a loop. My initial belief was that when a team makes it, they're not counted. So yeah, a lot more chaos than even what was expected. Made for a confusing Tuesday morning and some potential ideas for changes in the future for more transparency and for more clarity on the rules of tiebreakers. But for this season, the computers are God. I know everybody else in leagues definitely hate that the tiebreakers happen sometimes, and the fact that these sites don't really give us anything to go on with what to expect. And there aren't many calculations unless you do manual formulas and things like that. So I'll have to think about that hard. But right now, the playoff bracket is set, and the tournament begins with an interesting slate of quarterfinal matchups. We also have another league record that fell, actually multiple league records. You can guess who was doing that, but how did we get here? Well, in our final game of the regular season, the outcome was a big factor in what happened, as Green Acres hosted the Siamese Dreamcats at the Lava Castle at Drusus. This one had some up and down results early on until Green Acres was able to pull away. In the end, Green Acres was able to get just enough points by Keenan Allen to score the victory here, and then ended up benching his defense to avoid the potential for negative points. Still, this one was very close as Green Acres was able to secure a playoff spot with an 83.66 to 75.22 win. J.K. Dobbins came through here with 120 yards and a score after coming off IR. He helped offset the poor performance by X Factor Stephon Diggs, who had just 37 yards and one of the worst of his year. Joe Burrow finished with 239 passing yards and 2 scores. Najee Harris found the end zone as well. Ellen had 92 yards. For the Dreamcats, Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott had big games as expected. They combined for 3 touchdowns and 143 yards. Devontae Smith had 64 yards and a touchdown, and X-Factor Cam Akers did find the end zone despite losing a fumble. The 3 areas that hurt were at quarterback, tight end, and defense, where the Dreamcats finished with 5.72 points combined. Both teams finished 7-7 in a 5-team tiebreaker, and both teams ended up making the playoffs with Green Acres as the 5th seed and the Dreamcats as the 6th seed due to tiebreakers. Green Acres would not have made the playoffs with a loss. In the other EO matchup, Risky Business hosted the Elite Mother Tuckers at the Sulphur Mines of Barbara, and the records keep falling for our juggernaut, number 1 overall seed, as the Mother Tuckers won 116.38 to 82.58, a beatdown. The best team in regular season history, to say the least. The 13-1 record is best ever with the most wins and least amount of losses in league history during the regular season. And of course, the 13th win in a row is a league record that keeps on climbing. But the league record that we're all most looking at is the regular season scoring championship. The Elite Mother Tuckers finished with 1,647.9 points, beating the Multiple Scoregasm's previous record of 1,567.54 points back in 2018. Yes, the Elite Mother Tuckers are the first ever to crack 1,600 points in a regular season. Totally amazing. As for the match, Jalen Hurts continued to be a maniac with 217 passing yards, 77 rushing yards, and 3 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill had 81 yards in a score and a fumble recovery for a touchdown as well. Also had a bonus point for a 50-plus yard score. Josh Jacobs is clearly the draft pick of the season with 114 yards and a touchdown to add to his totals. Ekelor added 104 yards in a score, and Lockett also found the end zone with 60 yards. Mahomes did have 351 passing yards and 3 touchdowns, including a 50-plus yard bonus, and Thielen also caught a touchdown, but injuries and rough games hurt Risky Business here. Mixon had 106 yards, and Butker had a couple of field goals to reach 11 points, but Kelsey, Godwin, Jones, Gallup, and the Steelers' defense had single-digit points. The loss put Risky Business at 7-7 in the 5-team tiebreaker, and it hurt in a big way as they missed the playoffs, though they did earn a bye in the consolation playoffs. Moving on to Europa, where we had a battle to see who the home team is in the consolation quarterfinals. Uncle Justy traveled to the swirling skies at Havard Point to take on the Clash at Demon Head. And Uncle Justy won 92.2 to 83.86 to get the 10 seed. Jamar Chase was great here with 125 yards and a touchdown. Uncle Justy was clearly missing this production all season. Njoku added a touchdown, as did Bam Knight, and Tagovailoa had a 50-plus yard touchdown. Maher added a 50-plus yard field goal to reach double digits, and the Eagles had 7 sacks and a fumble recovery. Tannehill finished with 2 touchdowns for the Clash at Demon Head, and McCaffrey had a monster game with 153 yards and 2 scores. The Bills' defense added 4 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries, but that was all the good here for them. Uncle Justy finishes the season 5-9 and will be the number 10 seed in the consolation playoffs, while the Clash at Demon Head fall to 4-10 and will be the number 11 seed. Uncle Justy will host the Clash at Demon Head in the consolation quarterfinals, with the winner taking on Risky Business. In the other Europa matchup, my Darkridge Dreamers hosted Low-Key Lebowski Thor at the icy caverns of Varangier with the cash of Mentats on the line. While my Dreamers already had the number 2 seed wrapped up in the playoffs and came away with the 93.96 to 60.70 win to retain this cash of Mentats, it did come at a loss as Kyler Murray is done for the season after a knee injury on Monday night. A very sad occurrence. In this one, it was all about Justin Jefferson and Evan Ingram. Ingram had 162 yards and 2 touchdowns for a monster game out of the tight end position. Jefferson had 223 yards to get that 200-plus yard 5-point bonus. The Ravens defense added 2 sacks and 3 interceptions, and Nick Folk had a couple of field goals, including a 50-plus yarder to also reach double digits. Herbert Cook and Deebo Samuel scored touchdowns for Lebowski Thor, and Fairbairn had 3 field goals, including 2 50-plus yarders, but the rest of the team struggled. My Dark Ridge Dreamers finished 10-4 overall with an extra week to find a new quarterback, while Loki Lebowski Thor finished 6-8 and will be the number 9 seed in the consolation bracket, taking on the Stellar Bitches in the consolation quarterfinals. Lastly, we get to Ganymede, which had many possible scenarios with the division title still on the line. The multiple Scoregasms hosted the Stellar Bitches at the Secret Sea of Galanis and needed a win to clinch the division title, or a loss by Remember the Titans, or by finishing with more points than Remember the Titans. The Scoregasms definitely made it hard on themselves as the Stellar Bitches won on the road for the third time this season in an 88.7 to 85.08 victory. Kirk Cousins had 425 yards and 2 scores, including a 50-plus yard bonus, and Henry finished with 155 yards and a touchdown, despite losing 2 fumbles. Freiermuth also scored, and Bass and the Chargers defense combined for 18 points. The Scoregasms had 2 scores by Josh Allen and touchdowns by Pierce and James Conner. Conner also added 114 yards. Peoples-Jones had 114 yards as well. None of it was enough. Luckily for the Scoregasms, other things went their way, and they clinched the Ganymede division anyway with an 8-6 record. The Stellar Bitches moved to 3-11 to avoid having the least amount of wins in regular season history, finishing 3-4 in road games. The final match was a game that ended up being win or go home as defending champion Remember the Titans hosted AR's Ayahuasca Plant at the Polar Caps of Athanasu. This one was not on Remember the Titans' side from the start. Perhaps the Shadows were a little angry that they thwarted their plan last season because even the tiebreaker descended into chaos. AR's Ayahuasca Plant won 111.5 to 73.36 to make the playoffs as the number 4 seed in a 5-team tiebreaker of 7 teams. Remember, the Titans misses out on the playoffs and will not have a title defense as they end up as the number 8 seed in the consolation playoffs and will take on the winner of Loki Lebowski Thor and the Stellar Bitches in Week 16. There were some late changes here in the lineup for AR's Ayahuasca Plant. Goff, who was put in over Brady, was a maniac for AR's Ayahuasca Plant with 330 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Sanders added 155 yards and 2 scores, and Metcalf also reached the end zone. The Bengals defense also were put in late and ended up with 2 sacks and an interception and just 10 points allowed. Carlson added 3 field goals, including a 50-plus yarder. For Remember the Titans, the Chiefs defense stepped up with 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown. A.J. Brown added 70 yards and a score, and Geno Smith threw for 3 touchdowns. But Higgins and Stevenson left early with injuries, and Barkley was bottled up. It's a tough finish for the defending champions, who had a great run for the past few seasons. In the end, a slow start ultimately did them in. So the playoff field is set. 3 more weeks to determine a new champion, and the crazy thing is that no one in the entire field has ever won the Green Bowl. My Dreamers, the multiple Scoregasms, and Green Acres all lost in the finals in our careers. The Siamese Dreamcats and 2 league rookies, the Elite Mother Tuckers and Nayar's Ayahuasca Plant, have never been to the Green Bowl. That's right, whatever happens, we're looking at history for one of our teams as we fight to join the list of Green Bowl champions. And of course, we have to save the world too. And that's the content for the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Tomorrow we will preview the quarterfinals and consolation quarterfinals and also learn a little bit about the neutral site that all these semifinalists will be playing at. Until next time, salut! Check out the final power rankings and final regular season standings before you go.